Okay, today we are playing a game on King's Row. We are playing McCree the entire way through, and there is no SR for today's game because it was a quick play game. So, let's just start the game. So we're only going to be attacking, of course. Coming out the right-hand side door, an unusual door to come out of. Not really anything wrong with it, just a weird door to come out of. So we run into Winston here. We get spooked, but we actually could have tried to kill him here, really. I know we're spooked because we're like 75 health if we run this guy because we got hit by Hanzo. But we flash him here and start backing up. If, instead of backing up, we walk into McCree, because we're fully loaded right now, right? I got 6 bullets. Walk forward, fan the hammer into him, roll like that, or like that, I guess. Either way works. We're still hidden from the doorway because the bus is pretty in the way right now. We fan the hammer into Winston again, and then at that point, Winston's basically dead, and I'm sure we're spooked and just like want to get away from him more than anything else, but after you fan and like flash and fan into Winston once, they tend to get spooked. Like, they don't usually stick around and try to keep fighting you, so I'd expect him to keep running away, and then we'll still probably, like, DPS him enough, and then hopefully someone comes to help us as well. So, Winston's behind us right now. We did see that, right? Because we obviously see the silhouette there, but did we actually, like, come on YouTube. We did this, yeah, we saw him go to the right-hand side. So we know Winston's behind us right now. So now he's not even full health. At this point, we want to try and, like, find him if we can. Hammond comes around. We flash Hammond right here. I understand. But I understand the desire to flash the Hammond right there. But we do currently know Winston's behind us. And now because we flashbanged Hammond, we can't flashbang the Winston that we knew was behind us, and Anna ends up dying as a result of that. No. We are low on ammo, so did we roll right there? No, we didn't roll right there. Just roll and fan into this guy. We, like, try real hard to line up this headshot. To be honest, like, people are gonna laugh, you know, they're gonna, you know, you kill someone with the right click and they go, yeah, McRight click. It's just easier to kill people with the right click once you flashbang them, especially if it's someone kind of squirrely, right, you know? We missed the Winston, which is, you know, unfortunate, aim better, all that. There we go, we got him that time. It is better if you can do that, because, I mean, as you see, we killed him really quickly, but it's just one of those things where, like, why even give the opportunity, right? If you're in the position where you can just use fan the hammer instead, you're not gonna fuck up fan the hammer, you know? You can fuck up the left click, you're not really gonna fuck up the right click. So, this was a very optimistic use of Deadeye, because there's lots of things that people can use for cover here. The way I like to use Deadeye is basically to either zone people in certain circumstances, but basically used to be its only use, but they buffed Deadeye since then, or to kill a couple of people that are, like, 1 or 2 people that are out of position. Because if somebody's kind of, like, out in the open, you can just Deadeye and kill that guy, pretty much guaranteed. Or you're in combo with other ultimates as well. The thing is, right now, everybody that we can be using Deadeye on is within, like, 2 feet of a corner they can use. So this is not a good time to use Deadeye. They squirrel around the corner just before we can get him. This guy comes back out like an absolute fucking champion and decides, hey, I can do it. Fuck it, right? We didn't manage to kill him, unfortunately, even though it looked like we were going to. Such is life. But an optimistic use of Deadeye. Try and use it when people are more out in the open than that. If they're within arm's reach of cover, you're not going to get anybody with it. And sometimes that's fine. Sometimes you're using it more to zone than anything else. This is usually something you do more when you're defending rather than when you're attacking, because you can be in a position where you know that your team is kind of losing the team fight. And Deadeye usually doesn't get, like, massive value, right? Like, Deadeye is like a 6 out of 10 ultimate, right? Like, it's like no, like, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 ultimate, like Grav is or something, right? So, you can use it for a little bit more, like, low return. Like, it's 6 seconds of they don't want to be in line of sight of you, right? So, if you're in a safe position and you're defending, you know you're kind of, like, losing the fight. Maybe you lost somebody and you're waiting for them to get back, and they're pushing in while they're dead. You can use Deadeye if you're in a safe position to just buy some time, because they're not going to want to come out of cover while you're using Deadeye, and that can give, like, your team enough time to regroup and hopefully get into a better position. That's usually something you do on defense, because if you're on attack, you're the ones that get to decide when you go, right? So it's not such a big deal. There again, like, we left-click on the guy, you know, fan the hammer is usually just a safer bet with these things. At this point, we're pretty much gonna win the team fight unless something disastrous happened. Like, we were in a pretty commanding position. So we've captured the first checkpoint now. Hanzo's up to no good above us. We don't know that. I'm looking at the silhouette, but, you know, he's up to no good above us right now, so we'll see how that one pans out. Managed to get him, just about. Nice. Excellent. He's way too far up. We managed to capitalize and pick him off before he gets away. Their Winston's name is Hanzo. That's very funny. Did we have flashbang? Did we just let that boy roll away from us? It came up just in time. We could have just about stunned him. We probably didn't realize it was off cooldown yet. It did just come off cooldown. We could have tried to get him right there. Like, Hammond, you absolutely fan into this guy if he's in ball form, because there's no head to hit right here. So there's no real return on left-clicking rather than right-clicking. The reason to left-click him is because you know you're going to get the headshot. Can't do it to Hammond. This is, like, ideal situation, because we just, like, fan, roll, don't even fucking move, really, because there's a corner right here. Fan into him again. He probably lives, because Hammond's that way with the barrier and everything, which he does have, as we see. So he probably lives regardless, but there's no reason to left-click Hammond in ball form over fanning the hammer, unless you're just, like, literally not in a position where you can fan him, because he's, like, too far away or something. So here, it's not even really optimistic so much on this one as it is just like, there's like no real return on this Deadeye. The best case scenario is that we maybe kill Winston. Probably not, though. And like, that's kind of it. Even if we kill Winston with this, I'm not particularly excited about it, to be honest with you. Because, like, we're already, like, in a pretty good position right now. That Winston was, like, out of position. I'd rather just save it for when the fight, like, seriously starts in the upcoming seconds instead. Because we still have to do this last little push over here. You know, if we're, like, right at the edge of the checkpoint as well, right at the edge of the track, we can try and Deadeye and use it to zone in the same way like you would with, like, Blizzard or something. So we're basically up to no good right there, where we decided not to shoot into them. To be honest with you, we had more self-control than I would have had. We have ended up, like, isolated from our team right now, and we're just ending up... Oh, we actually got the Winston! That was pretty good. We didn't deserve to get the Winston, to be honest with you. That was pretty good accuracy right there. Winston's not exactly a hard target to headshot, but I wouldn't have killed him. I know I wouldn't have killed the guy, so, you know, I'm pleasantly surprised. All the, like, it kind of works out in that situation. Like, we got something out of that, because we managed to kill some people before we died. But that's the kind of situation where you're pretty much just fucked, and you're better off either trying to get away or just die faster. Now, because of the position we were in, where we were on the staircase in the alleyway, they're not going to stay up there, in all likelihood. They didn't know we were behind them. We could have waited for them to jump down onto the rest of our team, and then we can just go around the other side, jump out the window behind us, and get back to our team without dying. Because if we stay around, like, it's not impossible we still won that fight, but it was pretty fucking unlikely. And in that situation, it's going to be better to just, like, disengage and regroup with your team, rather than risk staggering yourself like that. So we're going for a flank right now. We really want that boy to come around the corner. So this is just the kind of thing where, like, you've got to be really certain that that's going to pay off, right? Because that's, like, a pretty hard flank. You know, there's soft flanks and then there's hard flanks. A soft flank is when you, like, just go through, like, a different doorway to try and get a different angle on them. What's a good example of that? Like, Ilios, ruins. Imagine ruins with me, right? We're standing in, like, I can draw it as well, couldn't I? You know, ruins, ramp going down, and then there's the bridge that goes off that way. I know, tremendous rendition, isn't it? So, then there's the wall that goes like so, you know, roughly, and then the cliff is over in that direction, right? So you can end up in a position where your team is kind of like shielding around here, and you're just kind of like poking, prodding from up here. Your shield could be up here with you as well. Maybe you like poke prod around that way, you know? You can go for like a soft flank on Ilios, where instead of like staying around here, you go around there, stand on the ramp that's overlooking the point on the side, and then you get like a slightly different angle on it, and you can try like that. That's like a soft flank, because you didn't really go that far out of your way to do it, right? Like, the soft flank is literally, you're just going somewhere that's a few extra feet away to get you a different angle. What's another, a good example? I guess also on Ilios, well, right? So there's well, big old point. And then this is the side with the, what do you call it, the gazebo? The side away from the cliff overlooking the death cliff is over there, right? So you can end up in where you're like poking and prodding from like over here behind your shield looking out onto the point, right? And the enemy team can be like kind of like over here-ish. You could go around the other side, around there, and then, you know, you haven't gone through the building that would be back here, and then like poke out the doorway and try and shoot at them like that, and that's also a soft flank. Because again, you haven't gone that far out of your way to do it, and you just get like a different angle on them. You maybe see past their shields, you know, something like that is a soft flank. Whereas here, going like all the way around the side like that is a relatively hard flank, right? Like that's a reasonable time investment to get into position. And more importantly, if you get caught over here, you're pretty fucking dead, right? This guy's over here. Ah, we missed the flashbang. Disaster. Like if you get caught over here, you're dead, right? Like you're relatively far away from your team. You have to go through that confined location to get back to them. Especially if you were all the way up at the corner, which is where you're going to be if you're trying to flank with them, right? So it's just a risky move to go for. You've got to be pretty certain that you're going to get a payoff out of that, which usually means that, like, their team is overextending, you've got your ultimate or something like that. You know, try to avoid the flanks that require you going, like, really out of your way as McCree, unless you're really sure you're going to get away with it. There's a better example of a soft flank that I can't quite picture in my mind for some reason. Whatever. Anyway, unimportant. You get the idea. So here, we decide to roll into this guy to flashbang him, and that's, like, the principal issue more than anything else, because we could just, like, throw the flashbang immediately. We even, like, turn and look at him, right? So, like, we've already done the big reaction, which is spinning around to look at him. Just throw it in his face and fan the hammer. The roll is an unnecessary maneuver. The guy's touching us. We're probably startled more than anything else. It's like the panic reaction. I understand. But the guy can't be that far away from you in the alleyway, basically. So the roll is often going to end up being unnecessary. So he's gone for a pretty hard flank right there as well. It seems to have worked out for him. He's managed to kill Orisa. And not much else has come out of it. So it didn't really pay off hugely. So here we're going for a big flank again. We're going all the way around. We got Deadeye, so this is doubtlessly the idea to start with. So I'm not really as bothered about it with this one because Anna just used I was gonna say Nano Blade. I don't think she actually boosted the Genji, but she used Nano Boost, and Genji was using Dragon Blade, so they're pretty fucking distracted right now. So coming up behind them to use Deadeye in this circumstance actually has like a reasonable chance of working. Just because they're currently worrying about two other ultimates over there, and we were currently moving that way anyway. So I wasn't really that bothered about it with that particular instance, because I know they'll be distracted. We didn't really fully commit to it, though. We kind of, like, got most of the way there and went, like, you know, I'm not sure if I fully want to commit to it or not. Again, we, like, tried to left-click that guy, fucked it up. We were close enough we could just fan. Like, don't be, I'm here to tell you, don't be ashamed to fan the hammer into somebody, even if they're gonna laugh at you, right? It's just, like, basically guaranteed to work, right? You can fuck up the left click, you can't really fuck up the right click. You can, but it's a lot harder, right? And this is my stance on this kind of thing. why even take the risk? You know, why go for the maybe when I can take the sure thing instead? Especially if it, like, results in the same thing, you know? Sometimes you'll be in a position where you have to get the headshot to kill somebody, maybe on, like, a tank, especially if you've got, like, if you got some distance between them, you might not be able to, like, get close enough to the person to really fan them, especially if it's a small hero like a Tracer. You might have flashbanged her at, like, max range, and you have to left click her in that kind of situation. But if you're, like, within a foot or two of the guy, just do it. Just fan the guy. You can't fuck it up, you know? So here, we go for this on them. It works out. Hooray. Awesome. Yep, you know, give him, flex on him a little bit. We run all the way around, right? Yeah. You know, it's starting to get to, like, an inconvenient length, and you are dead if you get caught doing that as well. You have to go, like, a pretty out of your way to go through that tunnel. Basically, if it's going to take you more than, like, 2 or 3 seconds to get into position, that's probably a pretty hard flank. And you're dead if you get caught over there, right? So it's a risky maneuver, but, hey, it worked, right? You know? As long as you acknowledge it's a risky maneuver, like I always say, if you don't get punished, you don't have to learn. And sometimes when you're playing like McCree and Soldier are not good flankers, right? Like, you don't want to be consistently flanking on these heroes, which is kind of what we're doing. We, like, tried for a few flanks this game, right? You don't want to be consistently doing it, because they're not good at that. If you're going to be consistently flanking on these heroes, why aren't you just playing like a flanker, right? Like, you might, if you're going to, like, commit to flanks repeatedly on these heroes, just pick a flanker instead. They're going to do that job better than McCree or Soldier would, right? But sometimes you're going to be in situations where you think the flank has a pretty good chance of working out. In which case, hey, go for it. It's not something that's like, never do it. You know, sometimes it works, like we just saw. Some people will tell you, never do it. Sometimes it works, you know? Sometimes it's the correct choice. You just got to be able to recognize when it is the correct choice and when it's an unnecessarily large risk, right? This is actually a pretty soft flank. No, I think about it. Like, if your team is, like, fighting over there, I'm trying to get, like, a better angle on it, really. Like, going in this far is pretty hard, is committing to it pretty heavily, but a lot of times, if you're kind of, like, playing around this area, right, with the payload, their team will be, like, kind of like this. Their shield will be, like, up there-ish. And you'll be able to see, like, backliners through this door. So, this is, like, a soft line where if you just, like, poke your head through the door behind us, you can see through this doorway, basically, and you maybe catch somebody in the backline over there. Like, going this far in, you're kind of turning it into a hard flank at that point, but just, like, poking through that door behind us would also be a soft flank if they're, like, playing around that doorway in particular. Oh, we're gonna get... the lamp. Unfortunate. Not much really forcing us out of here right now, so we can pretty much commit to that position. That was scary. This was a scary one to go for, because I don't know if McCree's used his flashbang right now or not. That's probably why we rolled, actually, isn't it? We were trying to dodge the flashbang, thinking about it. Because we did suddenly, like, walk out, roll all the way across. He's using Deadeye. Oh, what a hero. Oh, I wouldn't have been brave enough. I would have been like, I'm pretty sure this is gonna work, but if he's too far back and I have to, like, cover any distance here, this isn't gonna work. I would have been too scared to go for it. I know, but it was the correct choice. He was definitely close enough. And reasonably, we could probably assume he was going to be that close. Obviously, we see it with the silhouette, right? He couldn't really be that far back. I just know in the moment, I would have been like, nope, I ain't going out there. I ain't risking that. No, sir. Did you see Genji? I saw Genji. There he goes. Just straight fucking into the pit. Nice. Excellent work, Genji. Good to see those cybernetics have really enhanced his skills, huh? Oh, I got shot by Hanzo. Life is hard like that sometimes. Things start going kind of badly by that point regardless. Fucking Genji. Just, straight into the abyss. Amazing. My favorite is always when, like, Hanzos try to go through the hole up there. They, like, lunge across the pit and then try to climb up, but they don't climb high enough. They fall off the wall, whoop, straight into the pit. I always love that. Or, no, actually, the best one is when Junkrat players try to jump up into that hole using the concussive mine. And then they fuck it up. You've seen it. They just face plant on the wall next to the doorway and start sliding down. And then they try to use the other mine to correct, but just kind of like go up and make the situation worse. They don't really go sideways, and they go further up and then just go scrape their face straight down the wall. That's actually my favorite thing with that pit right there. I still dream of seeing this in an actual game, because I've only ever seen a highlight of this. I've never actually seen it in the wild, but when you come around this corner, I'll say. There's a thing you can do when you're playing D.Va on this map, where if you jump through that hole on the other side, you can boost under the map, come out this hole, and use self-destruct, right? So if they're like here, alright, up there, and you do that, they're definitely going to be surprised, right? Like, they are not going to be expecting self-destruct to come out of that hole. Now, if you fuck it up, you die. And potentially in a very embarrassing way, right? But, if it works, yeah. I've never actually seen it in-game. I've only ever seen a highlight of it, but I do so dream of seeing a D.Va player actually do that. So, this is in an inconvenient place for Sigma to have his shield. It wasn't really covering anything. He also could have took it down sooner than that. At this point, like, we're committing to another flank. To be fair with the flanks also, we aren't exactly getting reliably punished for this maneuver. If you're not getting punished for something, right, you don't have to learn. So, you know, we're kind of can keep doing this, to be honest with you, until they actually eventually learn that we're going to keep doing this. But that lamp's been up for a while at this point. We're better off waiting, because doing this gives away the fact we're in there, right? So, if we're gonna go for the flank, we might as well, like, commit to that. Oh, again. Oh, he's like, fuck. Twice in a row from the same door. Don't have him, oh. Yeah. That's, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, very scary. Ooh, fuck. Goddamn, we did get him. That's why you play McCree, right? Like, this is why you play McCree, in essence, right? We could have fanned this guy, also. But, you know, we got him. He feels bad. You know, we flexed on him a little bit. The fan might have actually not been enough to kill him quickly, actually. Because if he gets out of that and shoots us once, we die. That might have actually been the correct play. The fan might have been too slow in this situation, because we do die. But this is why you play McCree, right? You double tap that guy, like, alright. Yeah, you know, we just killed D.Va, the McCree, killed D.Va again, and Dead-Eyed Mercy. That's why you play McCree, right there. That, like, 10-second spam. Because when that happens, you're like, I'm a fucking god, dude. And, you know, if you kill, like, multiple people, you're right to feel that way. Did go for the stun on, like, the left click on it. Again, right next to the guy. We could have fanned, and that's, like, a safer maneuver to go for. Ooh. That's very brave. Like, this is much too brave. There's too much that can go wrong with this play. Because, I mean, like, D.Va defense matrix is this flashbang. It's a really telegraphed maneuver, right? Like, we're rolling forward like that. There's only one thing we can be planning to do. So we're telegraph our plan to D.Va pretty hard right there. And then, like, even if D.Va doesn't eat it, if D.Va just walks in front of these people, we're fucked, right? Like, if D.Va's just, like, in front of them, we're fucked for the same reason. So this is a much too brave maneuver. There's too much that can go wrong with that. And, like, be honest, right? What's the payoff off that play, realistically, right? Realistically, we kill one person, right? The absolute, like, best case scenario is we roll forward, we flashbang one, we kill him, right? Then we're not going to kill two in the flashbang, so then we also kill the other support. But D.Va has to not eat the flashbang, she has to not be in the wrong position, the other two have to be in convenient positions, and they kind of have to let us do it. Like, they have to let us do that, essentially, right? There's a lot that can go wrong with that. The realistic, probable outcome from that is, we roll, D.Va doesn't react in time, we flashbang them, we kill the one person, but then the remaining two people kill us, right? So then we just trade 1 for 1. Which is not really worth it when we have to cover this kind of distance, right? It is sometimes worth trading 1 for 1, right? If you can go 1 for 1, and you're like a DPS and you trade for their main healer, right? Sometimes that is good enough. Because if they lose their main healer, and their other healer is like Zenyatta or Lucia, right? They don't have their ultimate, that can be enough to win the fight. Sometimes making a play to go 1 for 1 is worth it. But frequently it isn't. It's definitely not worth it there, because, like, we kill one of them. Like, we kill Baptiste or Mercy. The other one can still, like, heal that fight adequately. So it's just not... Like, the potential payoff is we kill one person, go... The probable outcome is we kill one person, go 1 for 1. You know, not fantastic. We're better off playing further back and just, like... playing, like, a more slow-paced game, basically. What I'm noticing off of this is we're very determined to go for these, like, really big plays, right? Like, we flank repeatedly. We're, like, rolling into the bad men to try and flash them, right? Like, we're like, always left-click. We don't right-click, right? We're going for, like, peak, maximum, big dick energy McCree, right? And I'll just, like, finish the game, right? We're, like, right at the end. Why am I going to pause it again, right? We lose. We don't make it back. Very sad. So, like, you know, we're going for the maximum big dick energy plays, McCree play, right? And sometimes it works. When it works, you feel great, right? This is why people do that. They get the big endorphin rush, right? Because when you get that big McCree play, you're like, that felt fucking amazing, right? But frequently it doesn't work out like that, right? McCree is not somebody that can pull off that kind of play consistently, because a lot has to go right for you, and you have to execute very well on it at the same time. McCree, Soldier, Ashe is like a sniper. She's like a sniper adjacent. She's somewhere in between the two, like, so more Soldier and McCree. Like, their big benefit, right, is that they do... McCree pretty much does this better than Soldier. But their big thing is that they do consistent DPS output, right? So, you know, you can go for these, like, huge, big plays, like, where you're gonna flank all the way around the side and all that, and sometimes it works, and that's great. But the more consistent result for McCree is... You know, you're playing a choke point. You got your shield boy right there. You stand right behind your shield boy. And you just try and pop heads, right? And then if somebody comes too close, somebody jumps in behind you, somebody gets too close to you, you have the flashbang utility to finish it off, right? To kill that person when they get close to you. But, like, McCree is just a really good, consistent output DPS. So... the more consistent result, though less exciting, is just to sit, play around cover, play around your shields, and then just shoot at the bad men from behind cover, where if you got a shield, you know, you get to have, like, nice uncontested lines of sight. If you're behind them, you're playing around cover anyway. You're very safe. And McCree has great pick potential, because you don't need to shoot somebody a lot of times as McCree, right? So you don't need a huge opening. You know, if you go for these big flanks, you potentially get a bigger opening on somebody because you're catching them unawares, you're coming at them from an angle where maybe they can't get to cover as easily, you know. But McCree only needs to shoot a guy twice to kill him, right? And if they come too close, it's really easy. So, like, you can just sit with your tank, or sit, like, just behind your tank. You don't want to sit, like, literally right next to him. You sit just behind your tank. And you just shoot people as they come across. You know, you shoot the barriers to fill time. You shoot, and you try and get people when they come out of shields, because they're not going to play around covering shields constantly. You're going to get them eventually. This is the thing that McCree has over Soldier. Soldier has way lower pick potential because he does less burst damage without Helix Rocket, right? McCree, you just shoot somebody twice, they die, right? Assuming it's a headshot, otherwise it's free times. And that's just the more consistent result. McCree, Soldier, they are really consistent DPS output. So the best thing you can do is, like, sit and abuse the line of sight. Soldier's better for this because he has a way longer, like, larger zone of threat than McCree does because his fall-off damage is way further. But McCree has a smaller zone of threat, but his is way scarier, right? That's the trade-off that the two have. And it's just better to just, like, play around high ground, play around cover, and try to catch people as they come out of cover, and, like, shoot shields to cut, and just, like, capitalize on the enemy team's mistakes, which they will make, you know? Yeah, like, that's better. It's better to do that than go for the flanks. That's going to get you more consistent results on somebody like McCree. If you want to go for big flashy plays and big flanks and all that, pick Genji, pick Tracer, pick Reaper, pick Doomfist. They're going to do it better than McCree will. And more consistently. The email did specifically ask for more advice with Deadeye, so we'll kind of talk about that now since there weren't too many examples about it in game. You probably got the gist off of the first one that we talked about. You know, it's not a great ultimate. Sometimes it's good to use for zoning, but more often than not, the best use for it is just waiting to catch a couple of people out. And this is the thing with, like, flanking, as opposed to, like, if you get on high ground and, like, abuse lines of sight, then it's way easier to get a big Deadeye, because a lot of Deadeye, getting big value out of it is more to do with positioning than timing, because you need to be in a position where you can actually see people with it, right? So, let's go all the way back now, so that we can look at the King's Row map rather than talking about this abstractly, right? No, a little further than this. Because I want to look at a specific... I want to go to where we use Deadeye, basically. This is good enough. So, when we do use Deadeye, we use it, like, right here, right? Very narrow field of view, limited by this. The enemy team, they just, like... They're playing around cover, so they just walk around the cover and they're out of line of sight, right? So, talking about Deadeye being about positioning. So, if we're here, our line of sight is like so, which is extremely narrow. Actually, I'm going to start the game to illustrate this. Hold on. Give me a second. Okay, so here we are. King's Row, right? So we use Deadeye here. Very narrow field of view on the Deadeye, because there's all these walls in the way. Now imagine instead, bearing in mind, what we want to do when we're playing McCree or Soldier. Ashe and Widow as well, but we're talking about McCree and Soldier right now. We want to abuse lines of sight, and we want to abuse high ground if possible. So, you know where's a really cool place to stand is, and you know, this is kind of out of the way, so you got to know your team's not going to do some dumb shit while you're doing this. You come stand up here, right? Hey, this is a really big line of sight, right? So, you know, imagine they're playing around like that corner there, you know? Then this is not, like, that outrageous to come up here, because a lot of the time when you're on King's Row, you're going to do something like your team's going to push through, and they're going to go this way, or they're going to go that way. If they go this way, then you just kind of, like, want to follow them more than anything else, but, like, just kind of, you can come around here, and this is a wider angle to use Deadeye from, right? This is a way wider angle. We can see so much more. They basically have, like, that corner to use as cover, that if they're near the arch, or the doorway over there, or they can hide behind the cab. They don't want to hide behind the cab. Or, if your team pushes around, like, this way, then what you can do instead is they're gonna, like, be there for a little bit of time. You know, you can, like, maybe communicate with them a little bit as well. You come up here, and then you have an even bigger line of sight, right? And high ground's cool. You know, you want to play around cover. High ground's cool because you get to use the ground as cover, right? So you can, like, use the tree as cover as well, but, like, you just, like, step back, and then if they're fighting on the point, right? Back up, crouch. Hey, they can't see me anymore. So that's nice, and there's a health cap here. That's also helpful. But, like, look how big this line of sight is, right? It is so much easier to get a good Deadeye off if you're in this kind of position, or this kind of position, as opposed to this kind of position. It's just such a narrower field of view. So, this is, like, you want to be doing this kind of thing as McCree anyway, right? Like, this is, like, if your zone, like, your zone of threat, I always imagine it, I like to imagine it as a circle around me, right? Your zone of threat around you is your effective range in a 360 degree around you. So, McCree's, it's his fall-off damage, which is... What's McCree's fall-off range? McCree, Overwatch... What's McCree's fall-off damage range? You don't even really need to know the exact number for this, but you know. So his fall-off starts at 20 meters, and you don't want to be in fall-off range as McCree because his damage falls off relatively sharply. So his optimal range is 20 meters around him in a circle, right? And it extends out a little bit further than that. His max fall-off range is 45 meters, but by that point you're doing chip damage, right? So bare minimum, 20 meters around us. That's McCree's, like, effective range. So it's a 360 degree around you. If I'm stood here, it's not a 360 degree around me. It's everywhere I have line of sight to, right? Because McCree's, it's because of his ranged weapon. So if you can't see somewhere, your zone of threat is restricted. So instead of a circle around us, it's just this, straightforward, where we can see instead. If we're stood over here, then our zone of threat expands outwards, right? Because now we're not blocked by those corners. Our zone of threat suddenly extends out and covers this whole field of view in front of us. It suddenly covers like 180 degrees in front of us, as opposed to like 40 degrees in front of us over here, right? So that's the thing, like, with the positioning with Deadeye, and just McCree in general, but with Deadeye specifically is what this started on. The wider your field of view, the better. It's harder for people to get out of cover. It's harder for people to take cover from you if you can just see more of the area. So it's one of those things that's kind of like, you hear it explained to you and you're like, well, duh, obviously, if you see a bigger area, you threaten a bigger area. But it's one of those things that people don't usually think about in the moment, right? Like, in the moment, you're just like, I see Mercy and Baptiste, I'm gonna ult them, right? You know, here, that's way less likely to work out than if you're over here. So try to bear that sort of thing in mind with Deadeye. The way you're gonna get, like, big play Deadeyes off most consistently is not by flanking people, it's gonna be by abusing superior positioning and maximizing your safety and your zone of threat. So, anyway, got very rambling and incoherent. I do hope that made sense and helped. So thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you felt I answered your question from the email inadequately, please let me know and I will try to expand further. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. I've started streaming on Twitch Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 8 p.m. EST till 11 EST. There's a link to the channel in the description. And if you managed to make it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future, and I hope you found the video helpful.